There are seasons of life that leave no mark on anyone else's calendar. No one commemorates them. No one checks in. You are doing the work, faithful, quiet, unseen, and the world simply moves on without noticing that you are still here, still trying, still becoming. You know those seasons. Maybe you are in one right now. The feeling isn't despair, exactly. It's something quieter than that. It's a sense that the years are passing and nothing is being counted, that the work you're doing in private will never translate into anything the world can see, that you have somehow slipped out of the story. If that's where you are, then Joseph's life has something specific to say to you. Joseph spent 13 years in places no one important could find him. 13 years. He went into the pit at 17. He stood before Pharaoh at 30, and in between, a decade plus 3 years, he was hidden. Potiphar's house. Prison. The forgotten spaces of an empire that didn't know his name. The Bible gives us almost no detail about those years. It doesn't describe how Joseph spent his afternoons. It doesn't tell us what he was thinking when the months stretched into years. What it gives us instead is one repeated phrase. The Lord was with Joseph, not the Lord was preparing him, not the Lord was training him, just the Lord was with him. Which means that whatever was happening in those 13 years happened in the presence of God and in the absence of any audience. And that distinction matters more than we usually allow. There is something about hiddenness that modern life has decided is a problem to be solved. We have built an entire world around visibility, around being seen, counted, confirmed. If something happens that no one witnesses, we treat it as though it barely happened at all. If a person is working without recognition, we call it a waste. If a gift goes unnoticed long enough, we start to wonder whether it was real. Joseph didn't have that option. He was in a foreign country. He was in a household that ran efficiently with or without him. He was in a prison that no one important visited. He could not perform. There was no audience. And so whatever happened in him during those years happened without the distortion that an audience always brings. It happened clean. It happened in the hidden place, which is the only place where certain things can be formed at all. We don't know what Joseph was like at 17. The text gives us glimpses. A favored son, a dreamer, a boy who reported his brothers without seeming to understand the cost. There is something unfinished about the 17-year-old Joseph, something that needs what is coming, even if what's coming is devastating. The pit took everything from him that he had borrowed from other people's regard. His father's favor, stripped. His brother's tolerance, gone. His coat, taken. His plans, erased. What remained was just a boy in a stone well, with nothing but whatever had been placed in him before the world began forming him by its attention. That's what got carried to Egypt. That's what got carried into Potiphar's house. That's what survived the false accusation and the prison cell. Not a performance. Not a reputation, not borrowed identity. Something that was his, and therefore couldn't be taken. Potiphar's house was not a waiting room. This is the part the story teaches slowly, if we let it. Joseph didn't arrive in Egypt to wait for his real life to start. He arrived and served. He administered. He developed judgment. He learned how an Egyptian household operated. The logistics, the relationships inside it, the way authority moved through systems. He became someone Potiphar trusted completely, and that trust didn't come from biding time. It came from being actually present and genuinely capable. The same was true in prison. He ran it. He became the person the warden depended on. He sat with two men and listened to their dreams with enough care and precision to interpret them accurately. None of this was performance. It was a man doing real work in a real place, faithfully, in front of no audience that mattered to the world he had come from. And all of it was forming something: Egyptian administration, the management of people, resources, and systems under pressure, the ability to read a situation clearly and speak with precision about what it meant, the patience to lead without recognition year after year in places no one respectable would visit. None of it was wasted. Every hidden year was preparing something that would only make sense when it was needed in public. Pharaoh's dream came at the right time, not because Joseph had finally arrived at some internal threshold of readiness. The text doesn't say, and then Joseph became ready. It came because the timing had reached its mark, and the particular formation that had accumulated through 13 hidden years was precisely what the moment required. The interpretation Joseph gave Pharaoh was not simply a spiritual insight. It was strategic. He didn't just tell Pharaoh what the dream meant, he immediately followed with a plan, a national food security strategy, a governing structure, an administrative model capable of saving a civilization. Where did that come from? It came from Potiphar's house. It came from the prison. It came from 13 years of managing things no one was watching, in rooms no one important entered, for people who would not remember his name. The hidden season wasn't a pause between his purpose and his life. The hidden season was his preparation. When Joseph stood before his brothers in Egypt, the same brothers who had sold him, he said something that could only come from someone who had understood his own story from the inside. God sent me ahead of you. Not, my brothers destroyed my life and God somehow rescued it. Not, I survived in spite of what happened to me, but sent, active, intentional, prior. The hidden years were not a detour that God rerouted around. They were the route. I want to be careful here, because easy comfort is not what this story offers. The hidden season is not a guarantee. Not every quiet year has a Pharaoh's dream waiting at the end of it. Not every person who serves faithfully in obscurity will receive a public reversal that makes the shape of everything suddenly clear. But this is what Joseph's life establishes with precision. What is formed in hiddenness is more durable than what is formed in public. The things built while an audience watches are always, to some degree, built for the audience. There is a performance quality to public formation that cannot be entirely removed. You are, at least partially, becoming what people are watching you become. But the years in Potiphar's house and the years in prison, no one was watching who mattered. What was built there was built because it needed to be built. It was genuine. It was real. It would hold. And it held. It held under the weight of Pharaoh's court. It held when the brothers arrived. It held when the full pressure of a famine fell on one man's ability to administer and lead and remain human under it all. What is being formed in your hidden season, the faithfulness no one is applauding, the capability no one is confirming, the character being shaped in rooms where no one important is watching, is being formed without the distortion that visibility always brings. That means it is being formed correctly. You are not forgotten. You are in the part of the story the camera hasn't found yet. Joseph spent 13 years in the hidden places of an empire, and when the moment arrived that required everything those years had built, he was ready. Not because he had waited passively for permission to begin, because he had worked faithfully in the dark. The hidden season is not the obstacle to your purpose. It is the most essential part of it.